Happy Tax Day, America. The Pirates are here to remind you that the bill always comes due for sloppy play. Eventually, ignoring them is easy when you score 10 runs, not so much when you score none. We'll talk the game, mistakes, and how to finally get them fixed next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Pirates your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Before I get started, happy Jackie Robinson Day, everyone. I'd rather celebrate that than tax day. I won't pretend to educate you on the man, but challenge yourself to learn something new about him today. No matter how well you think you know him, there's a story you haven't heard. So I just encourage you to spend some time every Jackie Robinson Day just trying to find something new about him. We have to start with the mistakes because this team made a lot of them. They really did. Pretty brutal outing yesterday and today. In fact, I should acknowledge I was talking to a friend on Facebook about yesterday's show, actually. And I call him a friend because he's been commenting on my stuff for a long time. So you kind of get to feel like you just know these people. I haven't met him yet, but I have a pretty good track record for meeting people, and it's pretty good. But I said to him, because he was criticizing basically like, hey, you can't call that a nice win yesterday because they made a lot of mistakes, 4 errors in that game. You really have to you have to mention that a little bit more than just talking about the fact that they happened. I had some excuses. I also had a great one-liner that I said to him about you have to celebrate the islands or you might as well just drink salt water. If you don't celebrate like what you do get in a season like this, just my experience from covering teams that don't do well is if you let yourself be down even in the up moments, there's never any direction to go but down. And it turns these shows into virtual mortuaries, which I can't understand why anybody would want to watch. That's just not what I'm going to allow this show to turn into. I'll criticize them. Hell, I'm going to do it a lot today. So buckle up. But I think we have to be able to celebrate the victories, even if we know underlying there's issues. Well, those issues cropped right up again today. So let's start talking about some of the bigger ones that happened in this game. I think they're really reflective of a lot of what goes on with this team. Not all of these are errors, mind you. These are just mistakes, mental errors, mental mistakes, fundamentals. There's no fun without fundamentals. I'm just saying. The 5th inning, there was a grounder. Valdez charged it. Keller went for it. Nobody's at first. Now, innocuous play if you're just watching it. Mistake. Ball's kind of in no man's land. It's kind of unclear as to who should get it, the pitcher or the first baseman. It might even be one that you'd consider, the second baseman should almost be charging in for potentially. But the way that the defense is set up here, Adam Frazier's standing almost at second base. He's not getting to first base. So Valdez has no reason to charge this ball at all because if he does, there's absolutely no way anybody's going to be at first base to cover the bag. Mitch Keller won't make it in time because Valdez would have had to make it all the way near the mound to get the ball. So the play there is you let it go. You hope the pitcher gets it. If he doesn't, worst case scenario, the second baseman comes in. It's a tough play, maybe an out. Guy gets to first. If you don't go back to first, there is no out, period. So that's a inexperienced first baseman type mistake. You could forgive that if Valdez was hitting a ton, or if this was something you were going to do long term, or you didn't have an alternative or somebody who could play first base. And that's kind of where they are right now. They don't have anybody that can play first base. Nobody that's a natural first baseman anyway. He's about to go on an injury assignment, though, Spencer Horwitz. So hopefully, beginning of May, that'd be great. Middle of May at worst. This isn't a mistake, but Keller beamed Paul DeJong right in the face with a fastball. His fastball was kind of tailing away from him a lot tonight, actually. I wouldn't say Mitch Keller had it. We'll spend more time talking about Mitch a little bit later in the show, but for right now, fastball got away from him. He felt terrible about it. They decided to leave him in the game, and really the inning just kind of got ugly after that. Mitch wasn't really there. You could just tell things weren't going right, and it just felt like plays weren't being made around him. I wish that I could tell you it stopped there, but sadly it didn't. We get to the top of the ninth. Tommy Pham drops a fly ball. Jack, IKF, and Cruz kind of let a ball fall into no man's land with nobody calling it. Earlier in the game, Jack and Cruz had a miscommunication out in the outfield. Looked like Cruz was going to get the ball, and suddenly he pulled up, and then Jack had to lunge for it. Luckily made the catch. This is one of those things that, like, nobody's going to think about, but these are little mistakes. I want to point them out because while they're shuffling guys in and out of this lineup all the time and using guys in different positions in the outfield and never letting anyone familiarize themselves with playing with each other and playing some guys so badly out of position, their top end isn't even at competent. These mistakes aren't going to go away on their own. Okay? You've got to coach out of these errors. You've got to coach out of these mistakes. Not everybody is Ke'Bryan Hayes. Okay? Not everybody has that capability. And they certainly don't have that capability if you're just going to toss them someplace they haven't really played much and expect them to just know all these angles and ins and outs. There's nobody around to teach them either. And that's what we're going to talk about in segment 2. Because while the mistakes are one thing, I think they kind of lead to the offense as well. They're not learning lessons night to night on the offense. We're going to talk about that next. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards time than with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more, for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Here's what I'd be picking this week: Connor McDavid for more than 1 goal and Austin Matthews for more than 5 shots on goal. Seems like a pretty safe one to me. What I love is how easy it is to set your lineup in under 60 seconds. Prize Picks even runs cool promos like Taco Tuesday, where they discount player projections up to 25% for even more value, and payouts are fast, safe, and secure. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. So we turn to the offensive side of things. I know I said I wanted to have an upbeat show, but how can I? 4 hits tonight to follow up a 14-hit attack last night. First of all, the pitcher tonight, Jake Irvin, 7 innings, no runs, he came into this with some pretty poor stats, but he also faced some really, really tough offenses on the way here. So I kind of expected him to rebound a little bit. Plus, his curveballs, I thought they might give some guys problems. Now, one of the guys I thought they might really give a problem to is Jack Sawinski. Jack Sawinski went 2 for 4. Actually looked pretty decent today. At bats looked a little bit cleaner. If he's not their best outfielder as far as fielding goes, I'm not sure who is. Maybe Brian Reynolds healthy, but he hasn't been healthy. So, yeah. And he has his mistakes out there too. So, at least he makes most of the hustle plays. He gets to balls and he makes the right throw most of the time, and his arm's pretty good. I don't have much of a problem with Jack in the outfield. I wish the bat would be more consistent. 2 for 4 is a good start. Let's take it. 2 of the 4 hits, 10 strikeouts for the Pirates tonight. Now, one of the things that Derek Shelton talked about after last night's contest, Monday night's contest, was that the bats were more aggressive. And tonight, they did the exact opposite. Instead of being aggressive and staying aggressive and doing what worked yesterday, they went up there looking to take balls, watching strikes go by, getting themselves into trouble in at-bats. Yeah, to their credit, they fought some off and fouled them off and stayed in the at-bats for a little while. But that's not a method. That's not how you impact the baseball. That's just how you stay alive, maybe draw a walk, hopefully fight one off and get a single. Even in the 14-hit attack, 12 of those were singles. 2 of them were doubles. You're just not going to score a lot of runs if you can't hit any home runs, and every time you do get a hit, it's a single. It's sloppy at the plate right now. The approach looks disjointed. And I don't mean like everybody should look like robots when they go up there and they all have the same plan. In fact, that's a lot of what I felt like Haynes did wrong. And every time I blame a hitting coach, just kind of put in the back of your head that I have the understanding that the hitting approach really comes from the top down from Ben Cherington as far as like taking and seeing a lot of pitches. Well, we talked about how that doesn't work a little bit in the coaching show that we did on Saturday. It doesn't work when you're facing a pitcher that is getting 0-2 and 1-2 on you. And if you don't adjust by like the second or third inning to what this pitcher is trying to do to you, well, you're going to let a guy go 7 innings on you and only give up a couple hits. You're walking right into their trap. You're a fly next to a spider's web. You're going to get caught. There's really no way around that. This team has got to swing the bats. And they can't keep forgetting it game to game. I think what's happening is there's so much information about the next day's pitcher that sometimes that information is not helpful for certain players, okay? I also think when Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz aren't hitting, there simply isn't going to be a lot of offense. They have to be the straw that stirs the drink in this offense. If they aren't, there just isn't any. To Derek Shelton's credit, and I'm going to take all of his credit away when we get to the third segment today. But to Derek Shelton's credit, he tried to stick with the lineup that he used for the most part, at least the major components of it. Okay. Still didn't have Joey Bart. I'm sure he would have loved to have Joey Bart. I'm kind of surprised they didn't play Kutch for a second straight day, if only because it's Jackie Robinson Day, and everybody and their mother knows what Jackie Robinson Day means to Andrew McCutchen. So I was a little surprised they didn't try to work him into the lineup. I guess it's just going to be their policy. They're not going to have him play the field 2 days in a row. But boy, his bat would have been nice in this lineup. They really could have used the energy that he brought yesterday. That said, here I am telling you that they should do it. And maybe the reason he's got so much energy is because they're not doing it. You know, I hate to second guess that too much. I'm 48 years old, so I'm only 10 years older than Kutch. I don't know that I could do some of the things that I'm thinking he should be able to do at 38. You know what I mean? So there's that. They left Valdez at cleanup. Okay, he had a good performance on Monday, 0 for 4 today. Brian Hayes moved up to the 3 spot for Andrew McCutchen, which was fine because he performed really well yesterday, 0 for 4 today. The top 4 in the lineup today were 0 for 16. I mean, I think you're just not going to score runs when that's the case. The bottom of this order is not enough to score runs. Henry Davis, second day in a row, got a hit. He got on base a couple of times. Once he reached on an error. But it was a good swing. It wasn't an easy play either. I mean, a good third baseman, it would have been an out. They didn't have a good third baseman for the Nationals, so Rosario was really struggling tonight. But Henry Davis, he's taking decent swings. He really is. He's doing what you want him to do. Joey Bart apparently not quite ready to come back. Pirates have Abraham Gutierrez on the taxi squad. I would imagine if this Bart situation goes on another day or two, then you'll have to see them make a change and put Bart on the IL or something along those lines to get Gutierrez put on the roster because they have got to have a backup catcher at some point. Henry has done well. The pitchers seem to like throwing to him. I thought Mitch had a decent game. 3 earned runs in 6 innings is not a bad outing. I don't think he particularly had his stuff today, but it wasn't vintage Keller, but this was passable Keller. This was good enough most nights Keller. This was tiptoe through the tulips Keller, where he had guys on base quite often, but he tends to do really well with that. You know, he strings them along. He gets a strikeout when he needs. He gets a shallow pop here and there. He gets that ground ball double play right when he has to have it. Keller's real good at that. And he pitched a good ball game, a winnable ball game. 3 runs is not the end of the world for a starting pitcher, and the bullpen held up too. So this is not on the pitching. This was on the hitting and sloppy play. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. James Wood, I talked about him a little bit last night. He just looks like he's going to be a player. Led off the game today with this mammoth home run to center field. It was something else. I'm just going to say, reminded me of, oddly enough, Josh Bell, who was also in this ball game. Excuse me. And Keller had his number tonight, which was good because that's never happened before. He came into this game 6 for 9 against Keller. Bottom line, they pitched well enough to win. They didn't hit well enough to win. They didn't play defense well enough to win. Let's take a quick break and come back and talk about how we might be able to fix it. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of the ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Pirates' regular season is coming up, I can count on them to help grab tickets that meet my needs. In fact, my favorite time to use it is when I'm traveling. I just used it last year when I went to a San Francisco Giants game in San Francisco. It was a last-minute idea, and lo and behold, I got some nice, really affordable tickets and a great seat at a ballpark I wasn't all that familiar with before. So really, really good service. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Time for me to come up with some cockamamie way to try to fix things that are broken on this team that have been broken for years and years and years, right? The shortest way I can say this is it's time for Derek Shelton to go. Derek Shelton has been talking about doing the little things right and preaching fundamentals and winning within the margins and getting better since he's been here. And you know what he's done? None of those things. He's coached some of the worst fundamental baseball teams I've ever seen. They don't know how to run the bases. They don't know appropriate leads to take in situations. They don't know when to call for a ball that's theirs in the outfield. They don't know what base to throw to. They have no fundamentals for turning to in almost any scenario. They don't have a real first baseman, so I don't know if I can blame anyone's technique. But they have Kevin Young in the organization, so you would think somebody would be teaching technique over there at first base, right? Maybe it's not worth it when you don't have one. But they had a coach for this. We talked about it before, Joey Cora. I'm not saying you got to go and get Joey Cora, but this team's got so many coaches, you can almost bump into one for every player that you see. And they're not coaching some of the basic building block things that you have to do to be a winning ball club. You see guys get called up on other teams and they may not hit right away. For the most part, they can play their positions, right? They know what they're doing. They know what base to go to. They're pretty fundamentally strong defensively, for the most part. You have your bats that you're trying to shove into a lineup and find a position for them. But if it's just a young kid that comes up to fill a hole, they tend to know what they're doing. The Pirates don't do that very well. I have to say, one of the only defenders that I have seen the Pirates actually improve is Henry Davis. And it's taken him 3 years to turn into what I think is a really solid catcher at this point defensively. That's a long time. That's a long time for a 22-year-old that was drafted. A 22-year-old that was drafted with a ton of catching experience. Granted, his coaches in Louisville didn't do him any favors as far as that aspect goes. But once you're drafted, that's your job, right? So it's taken a really long time for him to get to this point. And they messed that up by sending him to right field and everything to make it take that long. But he's a solid defender now. They don't have anything else like that. Jack Sawinski's a good defender. I don't think he's a good communicator. And there's nobody teaching these guys the proper way to communicate. Tariq Brock has been coaching the outfielders for years now. And for years now, we've watched them play Keystone Cops on pop-ups and fly balls to the gaps, no matter who's in there. And therein lies, I think, the biggest problem in the outfield. Too many moving parts, and I understand why. Especially with Brian Reynolds being out and having the DH. I understand why you have to mix and match there a little bit. But it still needs to be a little more consistent than it is. Okay? Like, if you insist on playing Pham every night, which please don't, but if you do, okay, leave him either in right field or left field. Put Sawinski either in right field or left field, Canario, Kutch, whatever you're going to do. Leave them in one spot. Let them learn. I mean, there's no communication, and you've got O'Neal Cruz playing center field. He's supposed to be the quarterback of the defense out there in the outfield. He's wholly incapable of doing it. He has the skills, he has the physical skills, he has the ability to read fly balls, he has the ability to pick up ground balls. Certainly, he was a shortstop. That's why it's so infuriating when he lets a ground ball go through his legs in center field. There's no reason for it. A lot of it is, does he look like somebody that has been taught the proper technique for fielding a grounder in the outfield? Do you ever see him get a sharp single to center and he does that thing where you kind of drop to a knee to make sure it doesn't get through you and pick it up and just toss it into second because it's a non-stress play it's supposed to be? No. What does he do? He comes trotting in and just drops that glove down like he's playing shortstop, and he's just going to pick up a ground ball and fire it somewhere. You have to teach the new technique for the new positions that you're sending people to. Sure, you can just stick them out there and let them play it for 3-4 years, and then they'll eventually get there. If they have the athletic ability to begin with. But if you're not going to push the coaching aspect of it and teach them those things, O'Neal Cruz shouldn't be questioning whose ball it is in the gap. O'Neal, if you can get there, it's yours. That stuff's got to be drilled into his head. Now, if you've been playing next to him long enough, like Jack Sawinski and Tommy Pham and even Andrew McCutchen to a degree, you know right away, this guy doesn't know when to call it, so I've got to go like it's mine. And it creates havoc. They've got to get their arms around this. Trick Brock is not doing it. I don't care who takes it over. Find somebody else, give them the job, make it their only job. I don't care if they don't even take hitting practice. It's not helping them anyway. Get this aspect of the game nailed down. There's nothing you can do on the infield if you're going to continue to play IKF at shortstop and Manuel Valdez at first base. You're going to be bad at shortstop and you're going to be bad at first base. I just don't see there being enough time for that to fix itself. Horowitz will come in, that'll clean up first base a bit, and then you're still going to have the shortstop situation. Hopefully the team relents and learns on that and puts like somebody like Jared Triolo there, and Nick Gonzalez comes back and cleans it up. We'll see what they do as the season plays out. Even so, if Adam Frazier's going to be your everyday second baseman and IKF's going to be your everyday shortstop, shouldn't they kind of know like whose responsibility it is to cover the bag in certain situations, like pickoff moves, steals, like double plays that are up the middle, like who's going to go where? Why don't they have that? They've been playing together long enough now, 2-3 weeks. That's more than they would have played together in spring if they intended on this being the double play combo all season. The evidence list for why Derek Shelton needs to go just keeps growing. The longer they lose, the longer the list is going to get. And I think we see the evidence all the time. The inconsistency from day to day with the offense. The absolute lack of attention to any kind of sense of detail or preparedness for anything out in the field. The only people that make them look competent are Brian Hayes, the odd pitcher who's an extra good fielder. And, Adam Frazier looks pretty good at second a lot of the time. Jack Sawinski looks pretty good in the outfield. Other than that, man, if you're trying to build a team that wins on pitching and you ain't paid attention to any of that stuff, you don't know what you're doing. That goes to team building. That's not just Derek Shelton. Don't get me wrong. You'd light your hair on fire with Aquanet if they brought Alika Williams up here. Okay? You would. That you wouldn't sacrifice the defense for what you already know and think he is. But that doesn't make it right that they don't do better with some of these guys. Andy Rodriguez has been playing first base in this system off and on for the better part of 3 years. He's been playing it most of this season in the bigs. Nobody has taught him the proper place to put his foot when he's stretching towards third base yet. And if they have taught him, he ain't listening. All I can tell you is every first base friend I have freaks out about where his feet are and screams at me about how this could have been an out and that could have been an out and this is going to cost him. And all I'm going to say is if you're going to have the guy play there, don't you owe him like not embarrassing him? Teach him. If he's going to have to play there, teach him. Teach him how to do it the right way. You want these guys to catch and quit letting so many pass balls go through? Well, maybe man up and tell them this one leg thing don't work. You know, like that's not working for us. It's far too important that our pitchers feel comfortable burying that curveball, burying that slider. You've got to be able to get it. Fundamentals on this team have been a problem from really 21 on. And I've been harping on it since 21. There's been whole new casts of characters brought in. The only common denominator on this team really is Ke'Bryan Hayes, an excellent fielder and Gold Glove winner. Brian Reynolds, a good fielder and Gold Glove finalist. And Adam Frazier, a decent fielder and Gold Glove finalist. They don't have any that they've developed that are up here contributing defensively. Nick Gonzalez looked like maybe the first one that I could say came through here and looked like he really had a good head on his shoulders for thing. And he worked real hard with Jack Wilson for a long time to learn a lot. And Bill Mazeroski, for that matter. But there's a lot of these guys, they don't look like they've played these positions at all. And when you change them constantly, like when everybody has to be Jared Triolo, well, you know what you're going to get? A whole bunch of Jared Triolos, unfinished players that never really mature at any aspect of their game. And that's a shame. That's a shame. And the shame of it is we've already let it go on too long. And I know there's going to be more. Thank you for making Locked On Pirates your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.